whether it be basketball, whether it be volleyball, whatever it is, whoever I'm coaching, I'm like, the competition is the stage. Like, what have you done before that? Like, what you do on Showtime, when you show up, that should just be a result. That should just come. Because you've put in the work every day. You've put in the attitude and the energy and the effort and the 100% maximizing my potential every single thing that you do. That's what takes you there.
What's up, guys? Thanks again for checking in for another coaching quarantine. I have a special guest on today. We got Allison Randall with us. She is the strength and conditioning coach for the women's basketball team at Vanderbilt University. We had a little bit of a chat prior to recording, and our paths crossed about 3 years ago or so. And it was a really unique situation. And obviously, with all the content going out, her and I were on a call together yesterday, and we didn't even realize it until we saw each other's name. But we really wanted to take hold of this opportunity, and I wanted to have her on today just because it's been a minute. We were able to catch up, but I'm really excited for y'all to kind of learn from her today and learn a little bit about her. So, Allison, thank you so much for being on today.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So for all of you that don't know much about Allison, can you go ahead and talk a little bit about yourself, kind of where you came from, how you've gotten to where you're at in the industry, and kind of, what you're about?
I guess I can start from where I am now and then backtrack. That might be better for my memory. So right now I'm at Vanderbilt working with women's basketball. I started here last May. So 1920 was my first season with the Commodore. So prior to that, I was at Virginia Tech for a total of 8 years. Started as a volunteer assistant coach with track and field. That's why I moved to Blacksburg. Me and my training partner, we were actually working together to compete in the 2012 Olympic Games. So I was a discus thrower. She was a shot putter. She had already been to the Olympic Games, Cleopatra Burrell, for some time, and this was my first attempt. So we were like, all right, we're going to pack up and we're going to go to Blacksburg. Worked with my coach there, Greg Jack, for several years while I was there. Volunteer assistant coach of track and field, and then started to intern in the Olympic sports weight room and kind of got my foot, a little wet in terms of working with student athletes outside of, track and field. Did a little bit of that, got a lot of mentorship from the people who were there, then started to participate in my master's program, which was kind of like 2012, 2013, still an intern, still working other jobs. So I had other jobs outside of strength and conditioning, had personal training gigs, worked at a pool, kind of like the normal grad school grind. I had like up to probably 6 or 7 jobs or titles at one point, in addition to being a student. So after the Olympic year and after we did that, we came back to Blacksburg. I started to kind of get a little bit more involved in strength and conditioning, started my graduate assistantship and my Ph.D. program at Virginia Tech. Did that from 14 to 18. Really started programming, really started to dive in on the sports performance aspect of various sports there. I really got the opportunity to work with a lot of groups and program different ways, which was outside of, the normal track and field comfort zone. But I use track and field, of course, it's like a training base. You got to learn a lot about training principles and all that from track and field. So that transition was more or less seamless for me in terms of getting involved in strength and conditioning. Had great mentors, Mike Gentry, Jed Ferguson, Terry Mitchell. I can go on and on about the people who've kind of like pushed me and or encouraged me to go that direction. And then from 18 to 19, I started officially full-time. And yeah, from there I was working with volleyballs, working men's and women's swim, men's and women's dive, softball. So it was just a lot of things that I learned from working with athletes at Virginia Tech, all different type of athletes, being involved in the programming process and, just being in love with that aspect of sport, the day-to-day grind of sport, the camaraderie of sport, and training for that thing and just maximizing your potential every day. So that's kind of where I came from, how I came from. My undergrad was from Morgan State University in physical education. My master's was from Pittsburgh State University in Health and Performance and Recreation, and my doctorate was in Instructional Design and Technology, School of Education, focusing on psychomotor skill learning for athletic performance. So all of that makes me who I am today.
No, that's awesome. Thank you for kind of giving us that play-by-play. I do want to get into, your doctorate and, what you studied and how you're applying it. I think it's even 3 years ago when you were involved with this, when our relationship first started, that was always an eye-opening, aspect of what you could bring to the table. But you kind of glossed over really lightly and quickly over the fact that you are an Olympian. So can you please elaborate on that for the audience? And more specifically, talk about those experiences, but can you talk about the experience as an athlete on an international level, on an international stage, and what you learned as an athlete and how you've brought that into the profession and being a coach?
Absolutely. So went to London in 2012. Actually have dual citizenship. My mom is Jamaican, so I was able to represent Jamaica in the 2012 Olympics. I was a discus thrower, so that was my main event. And the experience overall, I want to say it was surreal, but I didn't feel like I didn't belong there. So I think as an athlete, coming from maybe not the best resources in undergrad, so, going to HBCU, we, are underserved. We don't have as much, bells and whistles, maybe coaching, maybe facility-wise, maybe resources. All those things are kind of things that we feel just maybe aren't level or equal with our competitors. So, coming from that standpoint, I almost always felt like I was a little bit behind and I didn't have, and I always had to scrape and grab for things that other people just had protein shakes just laying around. And I had to sneak and take some because I knew, so just kind of figuring out what, I could kind of get away with to be my best. And one thing that I knew that was never going to stop me was my work ethic. I started track and field when I was 18, which is completely late. I started senior year in high school, and I was like, what is this thing? I don't really want to throw it, but it's off season for basketball. Let me just see how this goes. And then I ended up winning states in the discus, going to the Junior Olympics and stuff, and then got a scholarship to Morgan. And I always felt like I had more to give. Always felt like where I was at that moment, experience-wise, I didn't have it. Strength-wise, I was weak as water. I'm probably the weakest discus thrower in the world, which is fine.
Yeah.
I can push myself and work to be the best version of Allison that I can be. And I knew that I had control of that. I had control of showing up and giving energy, effort, and positive attitude every day. So making sure that I did everything that I could that was controllable so that I could be successful. So when I went to the Olympics, I was like, I belong here. Even if I haven't been throwing as long as you have, even if I haven't won all the titles and, had the experience and the success that you've had, I know I belong here. I might not be as tall, might not be as strong, might not be experienced, but my heart and my drive, I just have to be here. And, I did not finish last. I did not finish last at the Olympics. So that's one thing. I didn't win, but I didn't finish last. I want to say I finished about 20-something or something like that. So overall, I think it was a great experience. Taking that passion and taking those controllables is something I really try to emphasize to my players. I'm like, whether it be basketball, whether it be volleyball, whatever it is, whoever I'm coaching, I'm like, the competition is the stage. What have you done before that? What you do on Showtime, when you show up, that should just be a result. That should just come. Because you've put in the work every day. You've put in the attitude and the energy and the effort and the 100% maximizing my potential every single thing that you do. That's what takes you there. I didn't just show up and go to the Olympics, just, hey, I want to go. Yeah. I put in that work and put in that thing. So I think for me, that's one thing that I try to really emphasize. I'm fighting for centimeters, every day I'm fighting for centimeters. And, you can control those things. How are you fighting for those baskets? How are you fighting for those fast break transition points? How hard are you preparing to get, to set up and make blocks and steals and all those things, so
right.
Kind of the biggest thing. You belong here, so act like it.
That's awesome. No, I think there's a bunch of little pieces that you kind of had in there, about, having the confidence that you do belong here and, owning that and having the confidence in that, because we know that, you could tie it into mentality and psychology of sport and all that kind of stuff. But it's true. I mean, we always talk about how it's 50-50, it's 50 physical, it's 50 mental. Right. Mm-hmm. And so you kind of put that persona forward and you really use it. And you lean on that, that could be 50% of your game. The other thing you talked about was your hard work and your effort. And you gave me a little, honestly, I got the chills when you were talking about that, because there's so much realness to the way that you portrayed that, the way that you said it. And it kind of brought me back. We're doing this coaching nexus right now. And Jeremy Boone, he said, let your effort be louder than your mouth. Mm-hmm. And again, I want to repeat that. Let your effort be louder than your mouth. And it struck a chord with me, right? And it's probably something that and that you have known for a long time. But, we talk about when we have all of these things going on and the way that we coach and the way that we perform, sometimes it only takes a one-liner that makes that light bulb go off in our head.
Yeah.
So hearing that the other day and then hearing you actually say it and talk about it, that was that true connection that I think as coaches, we're always looking for and we're always striving to kind of display for our athletes. Mm-hmm. So that's super, super cool. Obviously you talked about your passion with coaching and track and field and the ability of being an athlete and going far. Can you talk about, maybe how you develop those passions or how you're able to, exude them every day for your athletes as a profession? And then you kind of talk about your passions. We talked a little bit about all the things that you love to do outside of Coach Randall. Mm-hmm. So can you talk a little bit about on the professional side of your passions, and then kind of touch a little bit on, what Allison Randall as opposed to Coach Randall would do?
Oh man, let's see, my passion. I mean, I think one thing that I try to emphasize when they come to me, or athletes, or even my basketball players now, when they come to me and they sign up and they sign that letter of intent, they don't say, "Hey, I'm signing up to go lift some weights." That is not what they are signing up for. Okay. And I have to know and understand that. So as I talk to them, as I build rapport with them, and I understand why they're doing it, why they're playing, like how good do you think you are? Like, do you think you can level up? Like, do you think where you are right now is enough to play S&C basketball? If that's what you think, then you can, I don't even know why I'm here, but if you know that your ceiling is higher, and you know that you can get to that next level, if you know you can be a better basketball player than you were out of high school, I'm going to help you get there. This is why we're doing it. This is how it's going to help you. I need your effort right here, right here. This last one right here, this is going to be it. This is going to be whether you're defensive player of the year or not. This one rep right here is going to define that. So just kind of keeping in the forefront of their mind, like why they're doing it, why they're here. And I think as I kind of convey that and keep that right here in the forefront of their mind, it's almost like, okay, I got to do this for basketball. I got to do this for the game. I got to do this. So, from a passion perspective, like what fuels you? What is the thing that makes you passionate? And then I kind of just use that more so as a tool for encouragement purposes.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Allison Randall, not Coach Randall. I mean, I'm pretty sociable, so this social distancing thing is hard. I mean, right now I live in Nashville, so I just love the museums that they have here. I love the events that they have here. I love the festivals that they have here. Different restaurants in different pockets of the city. You can go down and get into pretty much anything that you want. There's an airport right up the street, so I can fly pretty much anywhere that I like. So I mean, I'm really like, I'm into hiking. Of course, I love to work out. So I'm really into music too. So being in a music city is like plus, like plus. So I really enjoy it. Yeah, I can't say cooking is one of my fortes. I do it reluctantly, but I do it. I just don't think I'm a good chef, but yeah, like I really try to be well-rounded. Growing up, I did a bunch of things. I was always involved in church, so I played every instrument in church. I sang on the choir. I did the audio video ministry, children's church, and then outside of that, I played basketball all the time, and different events that basketball teams would throw on, like fundraisers and stuff. So it's not a whole lot that I don't like. I just like the fact that I can do most things.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. And then also having the opportunity to do it, because you're in a city, but unfortunately during this time, it's a wee bit different.
Agreed.
Kind of get those things fulfilled right now. And, and I feel you on that. And fun fact, we have that music common denominator. Not many people know this about me, so thank you for sharing and almost not forcing me to share, but I feel the need to say that I too had played multiple instruments growing up. So all the audience out there, now they know that about you. They also know that about me.
Yo, Marisa.
Hashtag band geek over here. So so let's move on. We both alluded to the fact that COVID-19 is kind of this plague on our world right now. Can you talk about, the adjustment period that you've been going through? I mean, we're a month in at this point. Mm-hmm. We are the experts of routine. We are the experts of consistency. And here we are, in this most inconsistent and uncertain time in our lives. How are you adjusting, again, both as a professional with your student athletes, staying in touch with them, the connection piece, but also with yourself?
Yeah, definitely. This is very trying. In terms of my players, we're allowed to check in with them. Of course, there are compliance things that we have to kind of look out for, but just kind of trying to stay like face to face. So if I see them on video call, I can kind of, touch base, because there's so much you can get from someone from just sitting, across the screen or in person that you wouldn't necessarily get from a text, so really trying to emphasize, hey, I need you to log on so I can see you, and then it kind of just feels like we're back at school almost, just the banter that we have, the communication and the things we talk about, and, just making sure I'm like, hey, when you're doing this program, pretend I'm standing there, pretend I'm hollering with my whistle, I'm right there in your ear, like, don't half-ass it, like do it, so do what you can to maximize what you can during this time. Mm-hmm. I was like, you have every excuse not to. I was like, but you have every opportunity to. I was like, just give me an hour, I'm saying, an hour out of your day of sitting down to make yourself better.
Yeah.
And once again, just kind of putting the onus on them to be like, you want this for next year, right? You saw how this year went. How you want next year to look?
Yeah. I think that's huge too. And I don't mean to interrupt too much, but kind of what you said about giving that visual cue of imagine that I'm there, and I think that's the first time that I've heard that from a coach, is actually kind of giving them that visual cue, because damn well that if they could visualize you standing there, they're going to do things probably a little better and a little bit, with a little bit more care and effort to it. So I think that's super cool that you brought that up. But
Yep, a little bit more attention to detail, really making sure that they're doing things right intentionally.
Yeah.
So just really try to hone in and maximize what you can when you can. Mm-hmm. Me, I'm not gonna lie, that first week, I didn't know what to do. Like when I say, they were like, yeah, we can't come on campus, or yeah, everybody's gone. Like the students are leaving. Like there's no training, there's no nothing. Like I was kind of like sitting there, like
you real? Like are you for real?
Right. Like I'm like, okay. Like what is it for real? Like where are my lines? Are they not allowed to come in at all? some people leaving, not everybody leaving? And then, of course, I start the program for some people potentially being on campus. And then nobody's on campus. So then I have to go back and redo as if nobody's going to be on campus. And then I have to go back and redo as if nobody is on campus and has access to gyms at their high school or, private sector stuff. So all of that was kind of just like, all right, body weight 101. So just from a programming standpoint, I had to make that adjustment. From my routine, it really threw me. I think I realized, to your point, I'm good at structure. I'm good at routine. I have to get up at 5 o'clock every morning, 4 o'clock every morning. If I know I'm doing that every day, I can do that every day.
Yeah.
Like my calendar is like boop, 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 boop. Everything's laid out. And without that, the first week was trying because I was like, all right, so what should I do? What could I do? I could do everything or I could do nothing. So it was a little bit back and forth between the two of those for like the first week. And then I was like, all right, Allison, you've got to get yourself together.
Yeah.
And I started getting up, making sure I'm like doing my routine, doing my meditation, going to work out, making sure I do self-care in addition to work stuff, trying to pick up on stuff that I wasn't able to do before, taking lots of walks. So Milo was really happy. So yeah, just kind of figuring out ways to structure my life and structure my day, outside of actually being able to report to campus. So
yeah,
for granted how good we are at being like routine.
Yeah, no, I think it's really cool. You brought up two things that you brought up during your now routine that you've gotten used to, and it's meditation and self-care. And I think some people see that meditation is part of self-care, but it very much could be two different things, because meditation is a time where it's just you. It's right. You in your brain, like just honing in on, almost getting lost within yourself, but being within yourself. It's a very interesting thing, but I love the fact that you brought up self-care. And I think that's something huge that I think a lot of people are figuring it out now. Yeah. But at first that was not the case. And, I'm in a unique situation where I work remotely, even though every other day, if not every day, I'm out traveling and seeing people, and I'm around people, I'm around staffs, I'm around, clients and customers and stuff like that. But, I think one thing that I had to introduce to my fiance, who's a strength coach on his feet for 12 hours out of the day, and he's stimulated far more on a normal day-to-day schedule than I am. And it was just a reminder of, hey, like, go for that walk, like go and check out and do something different that has nothing to do with work, or, go get on the phone with, or go FaceTime a family member, or whatever the case is. But that self-care of, okay, let me reset, let me reflect, let me calm down, let me turn off work, focus on something else. I think it's so huge. But I wanted to also kind of, before we wrap this up, I wanted to ask you a little bit, because I did say that I wanted to circle back to your PhD that you did. And again, I'm pretty confident in saying that I'm probably not the only one that's super interested in what you got your PhD in. And can you just touch a little bit about what your studies were on, how you're able to apply that? I mean, you had such an eloquent way in explaining it to me when we were first catching up. And I'd love, if you could just give the audience a little piece of that, kind of about what you do. So if you could actually spell out the title, because I know it's pretty long. And then go ahead into basically the nuts and bolts of it. Nothing too detailed if you don't want.
Yeah, so if I had the actual title, like, of the dissertation was Guidelines for Psychomotor Skill Instruction for Athletic Performance. So guidelines for psychomotor skill instruction for athletic performance. So if you kind of break that down, so guidelines is basically like how to or what to. So basically coming up with strategies from a coaching standpoint, whether that be how we say things, how we present things, the different coaching cues we might use, the different practice schedules that we might implement, how we refresh or regurgitate or have them regurgitate that information to us, and how we transfer. So with different things that we can do as instructors, teachers, coaches, from a directive. So what can we do, say, and present? Psychomotor skill instruction, basically how we tell them things that their mind can comprehend and that their body can tell, like our mind can tell our body to do. So how can we say it so that they can do a particular thing that is related to and or transferred over into athletic performance? So there's different things that we can do and say to spark different cognitive processes, whether that be, sensory memory into short term and then long term, and then into being able to like store it and then recall. There's different things that we can say based off of who they are, how long they've been training, in terms of training age, the different activity that they were asking them to do, different things that we can do, say, implement to make that educational process or that time frame shorter so that they can get the desired outcome.
Can you just give the examples, when it comes to maybe a complex movement in the weight room so that coaches now can take everything that you just said and now learn how to apply that to the actual like exercise, or you talked about different things?
Sure. So if we're speaking, so give an example of like an Olympic lift, we could say that is kind of like the skill or the learning outcome that we want the athlete or like the person to exhibit. So being that this is the end goal or the end result, there's steps that we need to take to make sure that they can complete this movement. So one thing we can do is kind of chop that movement up into pieces. If they're a novice learner and lifting and that, in that particular movement in general, we kind of break it down and we can do how we present it to them can be manipulated. So are we going to say, all right, you're going to get down to the floor, lock in on the bar, keep your chest tall, pull through the floor, pop your elbows through, make sure you shoot down into the catch position, chest up, head up, eyes up. Are we going to say all that, or are we going to say, all right, today, this is what we're going to do. Okay, tomorrow, this is how it's going to look, and then we're going to add this. And then during that process, the different feedback that I can give, the different coaching cues, where are they focusing their attention? Are they focusing on their body or different external things? So do they, am I saying, lock in and brace and then push down on the floor? Or am I saying, all right, really try to get up nice and tall, try to get your head to hit the ceiling to explain max triple extension? Am I going to say triple extension, or am I going to say get as tall as you can? Different things that I can say so that they can hear it and it's not going in one ear out the other. Demonstration routines. How often do we demonstrate? How often do we correct? How often, do we correct every time? Do we only correct when it's wrong? Do we say, okay, that's a nice one, do it again? All those things have to be strategically implemented so that one is not cognitive overload, because they can only process about 4 to 8 things that we say. So you can't spit out everything and expect them to retain it, because they just won't. Mm-hmm. And then making sure you kind of have that, advanced organizer at the beginning when you are talking about the long-term goal to say, all right, remember, power clean, this is what it looks like. All right, first step is this, remember, let me see it. All right, what's the second step? All right, let me see it. So that way, every time they're doing it, they're building on that learning process. And that can be applied to, like I said, Olympic lifts, that can be applied to maybe running form, movement mechanics, like all those things to kind of, what can we do to get the information to them so that it can stay.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. And it kind of goes back to, for some of us, we've been doing that forever, but you've simplified it in a method, right? You've simplified it in a very specific pathway for us to follow. And that connection between the two, again, it's that light bulb, right? It's that light bulb that goes off when you're saying all these things and you're like, oh, wow, like that's why that worked that one time. Or maybe that's why that didn't work the way that I described a cue or coached a certain way. So I thought that was really cool to share. So the last couple of things I want to finish up with you. I call these my Corona fire questions. You have to try to, it's really funny, and I'm so happy that you just did this. I can't tell you how many coaches do that when I bring up these last questions. It is hilarious. Okay, challenge number 1. Let's do it. So they're really brief, short questions, but basically you got to do your best to keep the answer as short and sweet as possible.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Here we go. We're going to shoot it out. Number 1. What is your new COVID go-to meal?
Probably eggs. Eggs, some sort of like meat, and a protein shake or something like that. That's probably my go-to. It's easy.
Okay. Nice and simple. You said that you're not a big cook, so now you can't mess it up. You can't mess it up.
You cannot mess that up. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a new COVID activity?
I don't want to say it's new, but it's probably something I'm trying to do more of. But I'm trying to read more, like actual books outside of like strength conditioning books and my job. So whether that be self-help books or business books or, real estate books, like just learning things from different stuff to kind of like broaden my
perspective
on things. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Okay. Do you have a new COVID habit? Good or bad? Good or bad?
Yeah. So I make it a point to get up, and I don't want to say it's new, but I'll drink like 2 full glasses of water before I do anything.
Yeah.
Just
I'm with you. I try to do 1. I mean, there's so many beneficial studies out there that say when you drink water in the morning, it's just, there's so many great things that it can do for your body. So I second you on that one.
Yeah.
Something that you took advantage of before COVID hit.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, I could answer this for you, but it's being social. Like you took advantage of probably society and being social.
Yes, I will tell you. But as soon as I moved to Nashville, I was like, I'm doing something every weekend. One new thing every weekend and just doing something, out and about. So that's definitely, yes, I second you on that. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a new COVID TV show or movie must watch?
I don't know about must watch, but I love Money Heist. That one came out during COVID.
Yep.
Finished that pretty quickly. Someone put me on to All American. Watch that. That's really good. Can't wait for the next one to come out. That's going to be crazy. Been watching Macmillian, which is crazy. Donald's one.
Yep.
Insane. So those are probably the latest ones that I'm on right now.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing, for being a part of this. It was a blast being able to catch up with you and kind of reconnect. So grateful that chat yesterday happened so that we could do this today. So, thank you so much for kind of letting us inside of Dr. Randall's mind for the day. But it's been super awesome. So thanks so much for taking the time today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Whoever's listening or watching, I appreciate y'all taking the time to watch me talk and just, seeing us catch up. So I hope all is well. Stay safe out there.